Our next speaker, while she's getting ready, is Jessie Dotson, and she's going to tell us all about Kepler and K2, and I hope also a bit about the current status of the spacecraft. Is it still running?
We can handle that in the question session. Let's see. Okay, I've lost the mouse. Oh, that's because it's over there. It's a keynote.
First PDF. Below that.
There I am. Not by my standards. I do have it on a stick too, if need be. Checking. All right. Well, hopefully. Oops, that's not the start. Here we go. Okay. Good morning. So I cheated a little bit and changed my title. I did this on the airplane out. I was inspired by our Geo Office Director, Gert Berenson, gave a great talk with this title at the CASC meeting a couple weeks ago. But then after I've sat through, okay, I can tell if I turn my head, I get louder, so I'll try to hold my head in one position. After sitting through the talks the last couple days, I actually figured this really was my title, which is, this is my first Cool Stars meeting, and I have to say, I'm really blown away by some of the results I've been seeing here. And I think that there's going to be, Cool Stars 21 is going to be even better. And so, elephant in the room up front, we are low on fuel, and there is no fueling station in space. It is what it is. We don't know how much longer it's going to last. And we can talk a little about its current status at the end. But what I really want to talk about here is, and bear with me, I'm going to stretch this metaphor, and that is our science is in high gear. The number of publications coming out per day using Kepler and K2 data has just been increasing over the years. And after sitting here this week, I have every reason to think this number is going to keep going up. And I don't have to tell you guys, I mean, just from Saskia's talk this morning, I think it's pretty clear, like the fantastic result you had, you showed from where you have the different ages for the different alpha over Fe. That result was out a couple months ago. We're having really interesting results coming out all the time. And I'm convinced that's going to continue. And here are my 3 reasons why. New data, new methods, and new tools. And just to give you a little bit of highlight about what I mean by some of those. So for new data, here is the rate at which we've put targets in our archive at MAST over the past, I guess I'm showing about 4 years here. 0 is not actually 0. 0 starts when Kepler ends. And all these little dip-ups are as we add more targets through the K2. And we've put 150,000 new targets worth of data in the archive just in the past year. So there's some data there to dig into. And this is a Cool Stars meeting, so I did a little cut. I didn't have log G handy, so I just said, show me everything under 4,000 degrees. And we've almost doubled, I'm having font problems, sorry about that. We've almost doubled the number of Cool Stars we have data for in the past 12 months. I think that's going to be really fun at Cool Stars 21. In addition, we have been knocking off star clusters. So if you are a star cluster aficionado, or you just like to have an idea of how old your stars, whether they be hot or cool, are, we have looked at star clusters from a range of ages. Wow, I'm sorry, these fonts really didn't convert over. Anyway, we have young open clusters from 1 to 10 million years, moderately aged clusters, middle-aged clusters, and even old globular clusters. And a data set we're really excited about is for M44 and M67. We've actually observed that in 3 separate K2 campaigns. So we've observed it in campaign 5 and campaign 16. That data is already in the archive. We've observed it in campaign 18. That data is on board, and we're planning on downloading it shortly. And so you're going to have these series where you've got 80 days worth of data, then a couple years later, 80 days worth of data, and about 6 or 7 months later, 50 days worth of data. And so you can actually go and see how are these stars changing on this time scale. And I think I saw Louisa Rabel earlier. She's already starting to look into this, and it's actually more interesting than you might have thought. So snag her, I'm sure she'll tell you about it. Now, our star clusters have not always been the easiest data to get at. The way to efficiently use our onboard resources is rather than looking at the star clusters as a whole bunch of individual stars, we actually look at it as big tiles, which makes the data, you have to do a little more processing to get at it, because our pipeline cannot make light curves for the individual stars in these tiles. And so to try to help people give a leg up on that, we just submitted a new high-level science product where we kind of take these star clusters, tile them up, and put them into a data product that look very much like FFIs and look very much like tests, or I should say test looks very much like these. And so if you're working out pipelines to pull photometry out of test FFIs, we're making our star clusters look like that. Right now we've got 4 star clusters in there, and we're eventually going to get all of them that are tiled with a data product like this. This is something that I'm very excited about, and that is there's simultaneous data for the first time for a lot of our observations. With K2, usually we can look in 2 places at any given time because we have to balance against the solar pressure. We're in an Earth trailing orbit. We can either look away from Earth or towards Earth. We tend to look away from Earth because that means that this bright thing called Earth does not photobomb your data partway through the campaign. That's kind of a nasty systematic to take out. But when you do that, just the geometry works out is you cannot simultaneously see the same field of view other than like at dawn or dusk for a little bit of the campaign. So we did 2 campaigns in what we call the forward-facing direction, which means that we are looking towards the Earth, which means those fields were available from ground telescopes throughout the campaign. And several groups did large campaigns to simultaneously observe many of the targets that we were observing with the spacecraft. These are just 2 of the campaigns. And some of this ground data is starting to become public. Pan-STARRS took images of the entire field of view for 16 and 17 on about 50 different nights over those 2 campaigns in several different passbands. So if you actually want to get some color and some color time information, although sparsely sampled, to go with your Kepler information, you've got it. And then one thing we are super excited about is Gaia. And Gaia, I don't have to tell you, is just blowing the lid off of stellar astrophysics. And I actually think that Kepler and K2 data and Gaia, it's better together. It's like peanut butter and jelly. I don't like either of them separately. Put them together, they're fantastic. So I'm really excited to see how the Gaia results are going to inform the Kepler results and vice versa. Ellie Schwab gave a great talk at ExoPag about M-stars. Travis Berger's got a great poster over here about it as well. New methods. I'm going to go a little faster. People have figured out how to do bright star photometry with Kepler K2. We were not built to do this. It's tricky, but we now know how to do it. Gaussian processes, we've heard some about them this week. This is really going to be a powerful, powerful tool, and we are in the process of using 2D Gaussian processes to help us pull out and correct for some of our electronic systematics. And as people really dig into the data, the AI and machine learning techniques are proving to be super powerful. But I wanted to get to the new tools, because our team is working quite hard to put together a set of easy-to-use Python tools so that people can really dig into the data. Gert always talks about making this something your students can use. I actually secretly love it because it's something that I can use. I'm not a Python person natively, and I can use this tool. It is just really cool. Let's see if this will go real quick. I'm not going to go all the way through this video, but this just shows you how easy it is to do stuff. This first line here, you hit return, and you have now downloaded your data from the archive, and it's right into your Python variable. And it just makes, then you plot it. It looks kind of noisy. Let's flatten it. I happen to know a phase. Oh, there might be a signal there, but it's still kind of noisy. Now here with my next line, I'm going to correct for the motion of the spacecraft. And plot it up, and it starts to look a lot better. So if you can type as fast as Christina Hedges, you can flatten your data, take out the spacecraft motion, and find your planet in 55 seconds. Gully Santiago, he's here, and he has developed this little tool that's part of light curve called Interact, which actually lets you interactively take a look at what's going on with your light curve and your pixel data simultaneously. So you can kind of look and see, is that blip real, or did an asteroid go through, or is something funky going on? These are accompanied by a whole bunch of tutorials. I can speak to all of these are fantastic. Everything I know how to do in Python is from these tutorials. And as we add new functionality, we're adding new tutorials all the time. There's one I want to point out. There's how to cut out target pixel files from Kepler superstamps or TEF FFIs and extract a light curve from that. So if you want to go back to that high-level science product I showed you about for our star clusters and make a light curve, here's your finder how to do it. If you want to see new functionality that's coming, one of our interns is here. She's got a poster on this side of the room, and part of her poster is about some functionality she's working on to add. In case you're not meeting out at the end of this meeting, come join us in March. We're going to have the 5th Kepler Science Conference, and it's time to be coincident with our 10-year anniversary of launch. And finally, here's some pictures of some of the folks who work on the project who are here at the meeting. If you want to talk Kepler K2, find one of us, and we can bend your ear off. And I can see I'm out of time, so thank you.
Thank you very much, Jessie. And since you asked, what is the status of the spacecraft?
So where we are right now is the spacecraft is currently in a no fuel use hibernation mode. We were seeing a precipitous drop of fuel pressure at the beginning of July, something we hadn't seen before. We had 51 days worth of data in campaign 18, which covered the M44, M67 star clusters. We were very risk averse. We wanted to make sure we protected that data. Over the next couple of weeks, we're actually going to wake the spacecraft up, reorient it, which takes fuel, and downlink the data. And then we will see where it goes from there. That's right. We are in terra incognita. We don't know what's going to happen until we try it and go. And so we're going to try to downlink the data. When we stopped taking data, the spacecraft was still pointing really, really well. And so if we can get the data down, we're going to try campaign 19.
Yeah, lovely. Jeff, could you set up your talk while we... So, other questions? I'm sure there are lots of K2 and Kepler users here. I have plenty of questions, but I'd like to give you a chance. Okay. So, the current campaigns...
Yes.
You said you're going to download the data. How long will it be before it's available to the rest of us?
So we actually make, if you're brave enough to dig into the raw data, that goes live at the mast when we get it. But it usually takes us 2 to 3 months to process the data and release it. So the campaign 17 data, that will go live at the archive by the middle of August.
We're all looking forward to that, I'm sure.
Yes, it should be a good one.
So anybody who works on the star clusters, something to look forward to. Anything else? If not, let's thank Jessie again.